The beta for fleet carriers is now in our hands, which has raised two significant questions. Who and what are they for? With those two questions in mind, let's have a look at the fleet carriers beta by boiling them down to the numbers. Let's start with the big numbers, the cost of acquisition. The base price of 5 billion credits is rather deceptive, as the overall cost of ownership is much higher. After purchasing the carrier for 5 billion, you'll want to add additional services, such as refueling, repair, etc. Adding them all will set you back an additional 1,385 million. There are then the weekly upkeep costs. Again, with all services installed, this is 147 million per week, bringing your 1-year upkeep cost to a staggering 7,644 million. This makes your total first-year cost an eye-watering 14,029 million credits. But it doesn't stop there. Let's say you'd like to add a shipyard and module sales. As both are sold in bundles, meaning you are required to stock a certain number of ships and modules rather than choosing what you want a la carte, a fully stocked shipyard will require an additional 2,073 million credits, with outfitting an order of magnitude higher. Again, sold in bundles and tiers, with the highest tier offering the larger A-class modules, you will need a total of, and I hope you're sitting down, 26,460 million credits. That means your first year cost for a fully outfitted carrier, with all services, fully stocked shipyard and modules, and upkeep costs, you will be spending an incredible, unbelievable, and staggering 42,563 million credits. Yes, 42.563 billion. Let's now look at what it would take to earn one of these massive ships. If you were to use mining to earn these credits, averaging 200 million per hour in say a Type 9, you're looking at a total of 70 hours of mining just for the carrier and first year costs without shipyard and modules, with the addition of those requiring over 215 hours. Trade would be the next best path. Averaging 100 million per hour, you're looking at 140 hours to start and 426 hours for everything. Combat takes significantly more time, with the first year base cost at 281 hours and a total of 851 hours for everything, assuming you can earn 50 million per hour. Finally, if explorers wanted to earn their carrier via exploration, it will take them an enormous 468 hours for the carrier's first year and 1,419 hours of exploration to net them a fully outfit carrier with all ships and modules and upkeep costs, when earning roughly 30 million per hour. Let's now look at how decommissioning works. That is, if you decide to sell off your carrier or if you lost it due to debt. Currently, the value of your carrier drops to 95% of purchase price in the first 24 hours, 80% between 1 day and 2 weeks, 60% between 2 weeks and 1 month, 50% between 1 and 3 months, and finally 33% of its original value after 3 months. That means that once you've owned your carrier for 3 months and you decide to decommission it with all services, you will lose a massive 4,277 million credits. Just gone. Next, let's look at some of the non-credit, somewhat random numbers around carriers before we talk about what it's like to actually use them. If you want to jump your carrier, you'll need to wait 1 hour for its spin-up time, meaning you can't actually install any services right after purchase. Instead, you'll have to wait that hour to jump to a system that offers carrier services. Then, you'll have to wait another hour for cooldown and yet another hour for spin-up, meaning that you'll have to wait 3 hours minimum to jump your brand new carrier to where you actually want it. You'll then be spending 100,000 credits per jump for damage, added to your weekly upkeep cost. You'll then be using 1 ton of tritium per light year you jump at a cost of 40,000 credits per ton in the markets, unless you spend the time to mine it. You can add tariffs to the ships and modules you sell at a maximum of double their price, but not below their base value. You can, however, set the price on commodities to as low as 5% of standard price or as high as 1,000% above. You can store your personal ships and modules, but even though you're on a giant ship with 25,000 slots for services, you're still limited to 40 ships and 120 modules in total storage. We've talked a lot about the cost in terms of credit and playtime to acquire carriers. Let's now look at some of the numbers around using them, specifically in terms of exploration and moving them around. As these could be a wonderful platform for explorers, That is, if universal cartography is added, what are the costs in getting them around the galaxy? Let's start with jumping a carrier to Colonia, 22,000 light-years from Sol. With the jump range of 500 light-years, it would require 44 jumps, taking at least 88 hours given spin-up and cooldown times. When you factor in fuel, and assuming you had all services installed, leaving you roughly 17,500 spaces, you'd need to mine an additional 4,500 tons of tritium along the way. Averaging 300 tons per hour, which is on the high side, that means a total playtime of 103 hours, or at 8 hours of jumping and mining a day, 13 days to reach Colonia. Say you wanted to undertake a trip from Sol to Beagle Point, roughly 65,000 light-years away. This would require you to mine 47,500 tons of tritium during your journey. Again, at a mining rate of 300 tons per hour, it would take you an incredible 418 hours, or at 8 hours a day, 52 days, over a month and a half to reach Beagle Point. It should be noted that the current record to Colonia is 1 hour and 38 minutes, with the record to Beagle Point 6 hours and 35 minutes. While fleet carriers are currently in their first of 2 planned betas, this first one ending on April 20th and the second starting sometime in May and including console players, many of these numbers will likely change. The worry, however, is that they don't change drastically enough, as they are an order of magnitude from where this pilot believes they should be. Not only are the purchase costs an issue, but the ongoing upkeep costs, lack of additional ship and module storage, lack of universal cartography, and spin-up and cooldown times make me question who these are designed for. Apparently, that's a player who has in excess of 40 billion credits, less than 40 ships, less than 120 modules, plans what they do an hour in advance, loves mining above all else, has no job, plays Elite for 8 hours each day, and wants their own station to park in one place in the hopes someone may buy something from them at a loss. I don't know about you, but that isn't what I'm looking for in a fleet carrier in the slightest. But perhaps that's just me. I look forward to your thoughts in the comments below. This has been Commander Exegius of edtutorials.com, reminding you to, apparently, mine your fucking ass off, and thanks for watching. If, like me, you hope Frontier makes massive changes to fleet carriers, I hope you'll share your constructive feedback in the thread linked in the description below, and that you'll join me for my weekly live streams and consider supporting me here or on Patreon.